Yeah, so Karo Parisyan, UFC 59. You obviously fought Keith Wastowski at UFC 56. Your next UFC bout is almost like a revenge bout because Karo had beat Strasser, and now you're his next opponent. How does that pan out? I mean, Parisyan goes from a potential title fight with Matt Hughes to fighting you in your second UFC bout.
Yeah, man, I wish I would have known what I know now back then. Carl was so much more skilled than me. I had been at Minnesota for maybe 6 months. I was really just learning the difference between, being tough, which is really all I had been to that point, a decent wrestler and tough, versus what these professionals that are good everywhere were. And so I think, frankly, in hindsight, I wouldn't have taken that fight. I wasn't ready for that fight. There was no way I was going to beat Carl at that point in my career. He was just better than me.
Well, like you say, you've moved to Minnesota, but you've got Faircloth and O'Malley in your corner.
Yeah, and I'd only been there 6 months, and so I still my tightest connections were still back home, or back in Wisconsin, where I'd spent years. And so it was, that was still kind of a transition time for me, moving from Strasser's, where really we just beat the shit out of each other and we're tough. I mean, we had basic techniques, but I didn't. Am I wrong, Chris?
Oh no, that's especially in the Midwest, there wasn't these super gyms, and I guess Iowa was the best, but they weren't even the best technicians. They were just tough too. Right. Really, everybody's just tough guys fighting.
And in fairness to Strasser, I don't want to sound like I'm throwing him under the bus, because that was, you could get really far back then by just being tough.
That's what all we were. That's all the Midwest guys were. That was it.
Yep. And so, but there was another level between that and the champions. And that was kind of the point in my career where I was learning, I really don't know what I'm doing. I have when I first moved to the academy, again, I was already on the verge of getting the UFC, got in, a few months after being there. My goal when I was with Shirk and we rolled jiu-jitsu, when we first started, again, I'm at the UFC level, was to last a minute. That was my goal when we would roll. It probably took a year before it was last the whole round. And it really, then it was, the next year last the whole day. And it really wasn't even until the end of my career I was like, all right, I want to submit him more than he submits me.
Did you ever think when you were there, like, do these people all think, how the hell is this guy winning fights? I mean, did you think they thought like that because your technique wasn't there?
They told me that.
Okay, so they confirmed it. How are you doing this? Well,
yeah. Although I've always done better, in competitions than in practice. I was the same in wrestling, and so
I think Reed is the same way.
We've talked about that a lot. There's tons of guys, tons of gym fighters who are just the best guy in the gym and can't translate over to the fight. And then there's some guys who step up more in the fight, and that's yourself. And those are the best guys, the guys who are just, unbelievably good when the pressure's on. But it is amazing how many gym fighters are at the UFC. Like, how's this guy not in the UFC? Because when a fight comes, they suck. But it's amazing how good they are in the gym. They have the talent, they just can't mentally deal with it. And I think mental toughness is the most important thing. And it sounds like you have it.
Yeah, it's every good gym has just stories of guys that are just killers in the gym and can't put it together. And I don't understand it, because I've always been the opposite way. It's nothing that I've trained. It's just I've always done much better in competition. I think part of it, though, is my style, both for wrestling and also for fighting, was weird. And I'll do a brief non sequitur, but then return.
It's an awkward style. Yeah, for sure.
So I went.
Go ahead.
For my wedding, when I got married, we went to dancing classes, and I was fighting professionally at the time. And the dance instructor's like, dude, you're a professional athlete? Yeah. Like, you are awful at all of this. How? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, all right, here's how bad it is. I want you to wait half a beat. When you think you hear the beat, then wait half a beat and go. That was his great dance instruction lesson to me. But I think for fighting, it was super helpful. I think my timing was, not purposely, but unorthodox. And same with wrestling. I think it, in a room, you can get used to that, right? But the first time you see somebody and they're throwing a jab half a second early or half a second late, it takes a while to pick that up.
Oh, yeah. Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.